Now they already going back and forth beefing with each other. Now that's another thing they finna argue about. Cause she gonna think that Tony's the one that stole her money. They showed a preview for next week's episode where Danny sees that her money's gone. I knew the money was gonna be gone. Now the question becomes, who got it? Probably Rock. I said I would hope that Tony wouldn't be foolish enough to take her money. Now Rock, I could see him taking it. Now I don't know until I actually see the episode, we shall see. And I also don't know if the kids ever came over or not. Because then he said they was coming over for his birthday or something like that. But yeah, y'all. Hey, welcome back to another review of Life of Chessica for Tyler Perry Sistas Season 9, Episode 16. First things first. Let me know y'all thoughts on this episode down below. What y'all think? Did y'all like the episode? It was kind of moving a little slow. Didn't too much happen, y'all. I think the things that really stood out, first of all, Fatima and Andy worked things out. Now, with that, I gotta say, how do y'all feel about that? Or I gotta ask, how do y'all feel about that? Because she brought up Karen. She said it wasn't about, Fatima working with ball players and all this other stuff. So Fatima asked her about Karen. And she was like, she brought up the fact that Karen called her. She was like, Karen called you for everything. Did she call her once? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it. Did she only call her that time when she was at the meeting? I said, not you using it as a way to escape. I said, nah, But yeah, okay, so where do we start? I guess with Fatima and Andy. Fatima and Andy. So, Fatima was waiting on Andy. She came over there. They started talking. Fatima wanted to know if she should start looking for another job. And she was like, no, why? What do you mean? She ends up telling her what her mama said. And she was like, she didn't have no business telling her that, stuff like that. She ends up apologizing. Andy tells Fatima that she's sorry. She let her insecurities get to her. She brings up Karen calling her and stuff like that. And I said, I feel like she was using it as a way to escape or whatever. Fatima did admit that, she wasn't really doing her job or whatever. And she wasn't. She wasn't, y'all. She actually acknowledged the fact that she wasn't doing her job. What else happened? Let's see. Andy ends up saying that she got frustrated because Fatima was putting ball players before her work. And that's when Fatima ends up admitting it. Andy tells, wait. Let's backtrack. It's somebody I'm forgetting. I think it was Karen. What happened with Karen? Rings up Karen calling her. Fatima tells her Fatima was telling Andy, she'll cut somebody for her. I said, we know. I said, we know, girl. You can shoot them too. Cut in, shoot them. But no. She was like, I cut somebody for you. Andy was like, she's her sister and everything. I don't know how to feel about that. She ends up bringing up the fact that Zach told her that, he saw her naked. And she's like, yeah. And she was like, why didn't you tell me? And she was like, things was already bad between us and yada, 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 or whatever. And I was like, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. That's the second thing now. And I said, look, I'm over here trying to calculate. Y'all know when they had that meme where they show a bunch of little math problems and stuff like that. I was like, it was so much going on. Didn't this stuff happen after the fact? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it. Then they start acting differently with each other, or Andy started acting differently with Fatima after the whole Gary situation, after the whole Karen situation. I was like, didn't that happen after? But either way go, they made up, y'all. They made up. They good to go as of right now. As of right now, Andy and Fatima good, y'all. Spoiler alert. What else? Let's see. Andy ends up telling the sister that she made a mistake and she apologized because they wanted to know what was going on with her and Fatima, because they could tell that Fatima meant business. She meant business or whatever, and she was like, she made a mistake and she apologized for it. Karen ends up telling the girls that she moved to Seattle, and everybody had a problem with it. They were trying to convince her that that's not the best decision. She shouldn't do it. They were trying to talk her out of it or whatever. They were just asking her questions about money and what she gonna do for work. She just started, she just reopened the shop. What she gonna do about that? Look like she on next week's episode asking Maurice and Pam if they would like to buy it. And I said I could see Maurice, running the shop and stuff like that. Him and Pam working together or whatever, because like him at the bank gotta go. He got to go. He should have been gone, to be honest. But yeah, so it look like Karen's actually leaving, y'all, and I don't know how to feel about that, because it's like, I feel like this should have been a series finale thing. But yeah, she tells the girl that she's moving to Seattle. Excuse me. Paige ends up telling Maurice that she don't think him and Dylan are compatible, and he wants to know why. She ends up mentioning how he had been hurt before. That's when he lets her know that, he not trying to hurt her brother. The ladies end up saying how they don't want Karen to go, so they just took turns expressing how they feel or whatever. Um, Andy and Danny started going back and forth. I said, okay, now first it was Andy and Fatima. Now these two finna be at it. Now these two finna be at it. The Officer Green dude, he popped up, and I was like, what's about to go on here? I thought he look. I was like, okay, maybe he about to ask her about Danny or something. He over here want her number and stuff like that. Then wants to keep it a secret. I said, now Andy, you already got somebody over here. I mean, Danny got somebody too, but that's besides the point. But I was like, not you trying to be a player. And I said, now what is he up to now? Come on now, hold on. Okay, what else? Let's see. Let me get these notes because it wasn't too much going on, y'all. I already said Andy and Danny started going back and forth, and the ladies wanted to know what was going on. And I said, that's why I told y'all you can't tell nobody to deal with freaking squad. Because in their anger, they started telling, everything that each other had been through. The fact that Danny almost went to jail for running that dude over. What was his name? What was the guy name? She ends up mentioning how Andy be having men in and out, which is true, but at the same time, she do too. Or she did at first before she got with Tony. And they just kept going back and forth telling each other business. I mean, they already knew all that either way go, but still. And I was like, see, that's why, that's why you keep it on the hush hush. But, yeah, they was going back and forth. Gary ends up walking behind Fatima. She pulls a weapon on him. He was like, just want to talk. He ends up apologizing for everything. And she was like, she don't trust him. She don't trust him or whatever. So that's when she went to the house. She told Zach that, she need to tell him something. She ends up saying how Gary cornered her or whatever, and how she thinks that he's the one who put the 100K in there. And he did. I knew it. I called it last week. I said he has been the one to put the 100K in there, and he did. Gary stops by to see Hayden. Hayden ends up telling Gary that, he kicked Tamara to the curb and he was just going off on Gary and stuff. I said, real tender about this Tamara. Somebody he kicked her to the curb. She kicked you to the curb. You should never gave her no opportunity to kick you to the curb when she was the one who was foul from the get-go. The whole relationship, she was foul. From being hired by Fatima or whatever you want to call it, to sleeping with Gary, and you over here putting people against the wall and stuff. He done hemmed Gary up and stuff. Talking about Tamara, she left you, dude. She left you. Now she might be back. We'll see. But yeah, I said you going out real sad. But then again, the way he acted over Fatima, it shouldn't be no shock. It shouldn't be no shock. What else? Let's see. Gary tells Hayden that he's different now or whatever. He just keeps saying how he's different now. He's not the same person. He wants to make amends and everything. Danny and Andy start arguing. They start going back and forth and stuff like that, and they trying to get them to stop, and they just keep on or whatever. And they was saying, I think she was the one who said, Andy was the one who said she feels like they falling apart. I said, well, y'all wasn't never together, to be honest. If we're being honest, y'all little sister circle, as y'all keep saying, has been shady and not worth a darn. If we're being honest. But yeah, I already said they was throwing what each other had dealt with in each other's face. Karen says that her mind is made up. She ends up revealing that Aaron is going with her as well, because they was worried about, her having a support system and stuff. Fatima and Zach end up showing up to Hayden house to confront Gary. Gary ends up saying that, he was wrong or whatever, apologizing once again, trying to convince Zach that he different and he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that, he shouldn't have took Andy through this and he shouldn't have took it through that or whatever. And Zach just kept saying how he don't want the money because he don't want to be involved in whatever Gary got going on. And that reminded me, how you supposed to leave town and all this other stuff? I thought when they be investigating you, they be like, don't leave town. Or is that something different? I thought they'd be like, don't leave town or whatever. What happened with that? Did he get away with it or what? But yeah, what else? Oh, side note that has nothing to do with this review. I forgot that House Pain came back on, y'all. It aired before this. And Laura's still walking out. I said, how many times that's going to be the cliffhanger or the plot where, oh, she's mad and she feels, violated and he ain't protecting her and she be talking about she done. I said, this time be gone for good because we sick of this now. We sick of it. But yeah, back to the review. So what's next? Let's see. I already said Gary was apologizing, saying how he wrong, and Zach Fatima feel like he's up to something. Even Hayden feels like he was up to something. Sabrina and Danny end up talking about Tony and everything that's going on with him. Um, excuse me. Danny ends up telling Sabrina to leave her cousin alone, but I don't think she is. Do y'all think he gonna be the one who stole that money? I was like, you knew better. You don't sit up there and toss no envelope of money on no doggone table. You don't know, even if you feel like you could trust him or whatever. That still ain't nothing to do, does it? Because anybody could walk in there. Anybody. But yeah, she told Sabrina to leave her cousin alone, but by the look on her face, she's not gonna leave him alone. Andy ends up calling Vaughn. They end up making plans to meet up, and that's when that Officer Green dude just popped up out of nowhere. I said, now what he got going on? I said, now is he a psycho too? Like, is he Gary 2.0? Just popping up out the doggone dark? I about to say blue at first. Just popping up. I said, let me find out Officer Green crazy. He got that crazy smile too. Dog. He just smiling into my son. Oh, everything that was going on, I didn't get a chance to really talk to you. Are you single? She was like, yes, she is single, or whatever. So he asking her out, somebody meeting up and all this other stuff. He want her number. Oh, but can you keep it a secret? Anytime they ask you to keep it a secret, it's a red flag. It's the whole flag. Look, that's a bad sign, sweetheart. She like, yeah, and she just looking all like something's off. I said, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Something's off about this one. I think she was the one who knew him, right? So what's going on there? I said, they just be writing anything at this point. What, they done ran out of things to do. Now these folks want to be into it about him. He's supposed to keep it a secret. What you think this is? But yeah, he asked Andy, she's single. He want her. I said, so he a player, huh? Then somebody want to keep it a secret. I said, yeah, if they say they're going to keep it a secret, or, oh, nobody needs to know this and nobody needs to know that, red flag, red flag, they up to something they ain't got no business being up to. But yeah, that's all that happened, y'all. What did they show for next week? I think, once again, Danny money gonna be missing. It's gonna be gone. I don't know if she gonna be Tony or what, but yeah. I said, I hope she don't end things with Tony because of this dude. I mean, I don't really like them together no more, but at the same time, if you gonna end it because, you want to end it. Don't end it because of this guy you think you want or whatever. Now, I don't know. Did she actually give Oscar Green her number? I can't remember, y'all. And what else did they show? I think Gary and them supposed to still be talking or whatever. I can't remember what else. Was it something about Sabrina and them? I know Karen gonna be asking them if they want to buy the salon, but I can't remember what else, y'all. But yeah, that's it. Let me know y'all thoughts on this episode down below. Stay tuned for the next review. Until next time, deuces. Have a great rest of the night and be safe.